Here is the leadership paradox that almost no one in AI conversations is naming clearly enough. The faster AI goes or gets at doing what the analytical mind, the more leadership qualities that cannot be automated will become the only thing, the only leadership quality that would actually matter going forward. And we're talking about things like intuition, like energy, like the ability to sense where things are going to, even before the data begins to tell us, the capacity to create genuine coherence between an organization's purpose and the human beings that are inside that organization. These are not soft skills. In the era of AI and AI acceleration, they would become the only skills that cannot be replicated. And my guest today left a corporate career that spanned from Volvo trucks to Cordon Insurance and international markets on 3 different continents to writing a book that names exactly this shift. She's the author of Energetic Leadership, a movement to create conscious leadership who can navigate the 9 pivotal trends reshaping every organization on earth right now, and a keynote speaker. And she's worked with different companies across our industry on the question that really defines the next decade on leadership. And I just want to welcome you, Gitta Magdalena. You are welcome to the Clarity Mandate.
Thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast.
You're welcome. Let's start here. You left a successful corporate career at companies like Volvo Truck and all that to write a book about a fundamentally different kind of leadership like we've known in the decades past. What did you see from the inside of these organizations that convinced you that the dominant leadership model is just not sufficient, but actively harmful?
I think where I got really frustrated, I worked in retail, I worked in insurance business, I worked in the automobile industry, and it was around 2005, 2010, where I thought it is really hard to pull the organization together in delivering the value proposition to go to market with what we wanted. And I was head of customer value proposition in commercial lines for an insurance company. And I wondered, what is it? We can have all the advantages for the products, whatever, but it really comes down to that the advantage for any company is that we're able to work together. And why is it so difficult? And that's made me go deeper and deeper into what was not working, but also looking within myself. But so it also became a personal journey. And then in that sort of era, I also lost my job. So it gave me a time to have a pause, to break up from the normal routine. And so that you could see that I was like, both sometimes frustration is about a dream that cannot find an exit. So it all sort of added very well together. And then I was maybe lucky, but maybe also just ripe at the time because I went inside and I was able to release what needed to come out.
That's so powerful. And you, in that process, identified 9 pivotal trends that every organization and leader must navigate. Without listing all 9, I would like you to tell us the one that most leaders are most dangerously underestimating right now, and what the cost of that underestimation could be in a measurable business outcome kind of way, if you may.
Yes, I would pick 2, but overall, the mega trend is really from more to better. So that is really covering very clearly what we are in right now. We can do a lot more of the same thing and end up at the wrong place. But we could also try to be better at what we're doing. But then I will take it on to one specific, because you are mentioning AI, and we have this huge technological. We're in that time right now. So from being both societies but also corporations being very automated, we have been doing a lot. We've been using lean. We have done a lot, and everything has to be efficient and all that. But how do we make the shift from being automatic to what I call AI magic? So how do we combine both being efficient, but also creating that kind of efficient from AI, but also adding that magic to it that comes from the human being itself? So that's really the intuitive power I'm talking into.
Well, I want you to speak more about that, because in your energetic leadership, you propose combining rational knowledge with intuitive wisdom as equal sources of data. And for me, that is a radical claim in an era where data analytics and AI are being treated as the definitive answer to everything. I mean, everyone is AI in everything. Even my 10-year-old is AI and stuff. So I would like you to really speak more about making the intuitive leadership perspective as a tool, not just a spiritual case, but a business performance case, if you may.
Yes, you can imagine yourself if you are standing up and I ask you to be just on your right leg, and I ask you to walk on your right leg, only on your right leg. And it's the right leg because that's where we have our masculine energy. It's not to do with gender, but the very productive one. It is hard to walk on one leg. You can do it. I do it in workshops. And people are, jumping around, and some are not moving anywhere. But it is possible. That's the way we have lived our lives until now. We have been raised that way. We've been taught that way. That's what we're practicing. And so, but we are actually born with the capacity to live and lead on 2 legs. So we have our rational power on the right side, and we on our left side, and it's very opposite in the brain. But we have our intuitive power on the left side.
Wow.
So when you do that, people suddenly something clicks with them that, okay, yes, I am a bit wobbly in my life, and so how am I able to be more both coherent but also strong, and at the same time also flexible, so that we can actually bend all the way to one side but without breaking, but we can also bend to another side, just like the reed, in the wind. So you are able to do that. So balanced leadership or energetic leadership is not being sort of straight, but you should be able to bend And I also call it very much that we are weaving our intuitive time together with our linear time. We have our calendar. That's why we're sitting here. We have to make it work. We have to put something in the calendar. But at the same time, I'm also checking in on my day. How is my energy today? How am I truly feeling? What is it that is there something that I need to be aware of? And can I adjust that? Can I move maybe around that I'll do something later than? So how are we able to open up so we don't have to say to ourselves, we're going to figure everything out? No, we cannot figure everything out.
Wow, that's right.
It's a multidimensional world now. It's not 3D anymore. It is multidimensional. And we need, as humans, to move into that era too.
Wow, that's really interesting. And you talk about these transitions, you talk about moving from degenerative to regenerative leadership. And most executive I have spoken to understand degenerative systems. They extract value until the source is depleted. But regenerative is a word that get used a lot without ever being defined precisely. What does a regenerative leader actually do differently on a Tuesday morning or a Monday morning? What do you do?
I think for me, really, it is that we have to sort of
Like the daily practice?
yes, the daily practice, but really it's all about coming back to what's natural. That is, some people, when you say spiritual, and I also use the word sometimes, but really it is natural. So one thing is trying to accept that there's something deep within us that's natural. But what do we do differently on a Monday morning? It is when I'm asked to give just one advice, it is simply to try and be still for maybe just a minute. And it's just to take a breath, but not just to take a breath, but also to let the energy land in your body. Maybe if you're sitting in a room and you're going to take a decision, just take a moment and let the energy land. So where is it the decision? Because the decisioning power is really what's crucial.
Wow, thank you. I mean, you heard her. Jesus says you need to always take those deep breaths, whether it's a Monday morning or Tuesday morning. As a regenerative leader, you need to monitor your energy levels because they are flexible. And when you take that deep breath for a minute, it helps your decisions better. And I want us to dig deeper into this. When we look at some of the 9 trends that you cover, and you describe not just something looking at employee engagement problems, but you also talk about signals that organizations have failed to align individual life purpose with organizational life purpose. I mean, that is a diagnostic refrain. It's always been about the organization. They put people on wellness programs and this and that. But like, what is the actual mechanism? Why does misaligned purpose produce quite quitting rather than maybe dissatisfaction? So I want you to really speak to how do we get this alignment right, and how does it, when we find misalignment, you see people leaving organizations and all that?
I think really it's to do with evolution, that we have come this far on planet Earth. And we have, over the years, now I'm talking maybe the last 300 years, We have had a lot of industrialization. We are able to produce a lot. We can do a lot more if we want to.
That's right.
But people are the ones that are now acting, and it's coming from underneath. So it's the organizations and in societies all over the world, everywhere. And every human being is unique and curious and trying to be brave to take and make that move. So really, it's evolution that sort of puts us here, that now we have created all this wealth, but we are ruining it for ourselves and also for planet Earth. Planet Earth will survive, but humans will not if we don't take care of it. And that's where the pull from the humans or the push from the humans are coming. So people are getting stronger and stronger from within.
Wow.
In order to both come out, but also to gather. And then coming back to the subtitle of the book, modern life design collides with old leadership habits. It is because just like it's not just me, but I realized I had more to sort of do with my time here on Earth. And that's why I am doing what I'm doing now, trying to inspire people to energetic leadership. But overall, there's a much bigger agenda into it. But the interesting thing is that when you do listen to your soul and you calm your body, because when you calm your body, the soul would like to stay there, and then you quiet your mind. And then everything becomes much easier. And you become really unstoppable. And I think that's important in an era where we have AI, and some are scared about AI. But maybe AI is here to help us release time so we can make that transformation within our human body and our lives and businesses and societies.
Wow, that's powerful. If you're just joining us, we are on the Clarity Mandate podcast, and our guest today joining us all the way from Europe, and she wrote a book and talking about energetic leadership. We're going to put details of her book in the show notes, and you want to get more about some of the really insightful things that she has shared in that book. We're not going to cover that in this podcast episode, but go ahead and check that out for yourself. And let me get back to our guest. You describe energetic leadership as a movement to create conscious leaders. The word conscious is used in many different ways. I mean, whether you're looking at from the genuinely rigorous to vague use of the word. So I want you to be intentional and define for our listeners conscious leadership as precisely as possible in a way that anyone that is skeptical would really get it. They would see the evidence of what you are saying and really find the credibility rather than just dismissing it as another use of the word conscious leadership. I would like you to speak to that.
Einstein said, and a lot of others have proved, that everything is energy. So it is physics, it's quantum physics. Now we are starting to believe in it because we can measure it and so forth. So funny enough, we need science to prove something that is natural in these times for a lot of reasons. But what is crucial is that in order to understand why this is important for this time, is that we have neglected our body for a long time, and we have a huge potential that we are not using. We have cut off the body, and we are trying to be as clever as we can in our minds. And I'm not saying that that's not good, but we need to pull from our body when we sense. From there, we can get a higher consciousness, and from there, we will get the intuition. And we need the intuition. We need it for our creativity, and we need it for our happiness and joy. But we also need it for all the solutions that we're going to create in order to be here on planet Earth, because we would like to be 8 billion still. And so how are we going to do that in a much more sustainable way, being regenerative, but also in a much more healthy way, where we use money in a good way, not being sick. We have a lot of autoimmune sickness or illnesses that we might probably be able to solve when we are much more aligned in our energy system. And then we can have our businesses also, and they will be thriving, but maybe with a different business model. And that's crucial, because right now, some will say that it's important that you create more and more value. Yes, it is for businesses, but maybe we can create business models that still are with a good bottom line, but created in a much more healthy way for humans, because that's where the demand will come. So if you want to have a healthy business, you will have to look into how is your business model if you want the right employees, the right customers, and also, so really the purpose of a company has to fit the purposes of the employees they want.
Wow, that's really powerful. And to you, Gitta, someone listening to us, a leader in our audience, maybe running an organization of about 500, maybe up to 5,000 employees, and they are navigating the AI disruption, the generational workforce expectations. I mean, this is one of the times in history where we have about 4 different generations all at the workplace at the same time. And the question of whether their business model is sustainable in the next decade, because the expectations across generations, the work ethic, and just a lot of issues are different. So I want you to give them maybe 2 or 3 most important leadership practices from energetic leadership model that they can begin to apply to their business right now after listening to this episode.
Yes, if you are decisioning, a leader who makes decision for other people, I would recommend that you use time as a leader, but also as a leadership team, to understand the horizon, to look out. You need to understand the trends ahead of you and prioritize from there. So it's about practicing your curiosity and your prioritization. So what is it you're prioritizing in your company or in your team or wherever you are based in your organization? That's one thing. The other one is to look in, to get insight from yourself. That is to get the energetic consciousness, to be still, to grab hold of your intuition. So you need, also as a CEO, also as a board director, or you need to have presence, and you need to understand your energy consciousness. You cannot outsource it to anyone. And the third thing is, that's business transformation, which is, for me, to be brave and then to act. And the bravery comes when you are able to see, you are looking out, you are listening, and you are sensing. And then the fourth thing is that you believe, that you combined your rational data and your intuitive data, and you combine that, and you have the bravery to follow your decision from there.
Wow, that is powerful. You want to listen to those really four very significant that Gitta just shared there. You want to listen to them, take notes when you listen to the episode. And for you, Gitta, you've lived in London, Sydney, Kuala Lumpur, and now you live in Denmark, and maybe you've lived in other places. And your leadership framework is being applied in organizations across different cultures and contexts. What does energetic leadership look like in a non-Western organizational culture, where maybe the relationships between individual life design and collective purpose is structured maybe fundamentally different than it is in the Scandinavian world?
Energy and understanding energy. I think a lot of countries outside the Western world is much better at that. So the power and maybe the financial power is bigger within the Western world, but really this kind of leadership in the future is so strong, whether you are, you could say, poor or rich. You can have full connection to your soul and be calm in your mind, and then being able to use your body. Of course, I know that you need, of course, to have food, but if we are considering that, so sometimes I would say that the richness is not necessarily in the Western world. We have so much we have to relearn or stop doing in order to come back on track. So there's a lot we can find a lot of inspiration from all indigenous people around the world, and help. That's coming back to the regenerative part of it, but help understanding what was it that our ancestors told us.
Wow.
That we have forgotten. So we are all standing on each other's shoulders. And I think now we are talking woman to woman also. Women know that for sure how important it is. So we have a common agenda. And I also find that on other podcasts, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a podcast, one guy from India. I've just been on one in Australia. So really, energetic leadership is about that we are all connected. We are connected in the energy system. It's a magnetic field. And we have just created all these, I don't know, weird boundaries that we want to get rid of.
That's right. Wow. We are all energy and we are so connected. You want to learn more about this because your effectiveness depends on energy. Your productivity depends on energy. Your value to organizations, to yourself, to your family, all that depends on energy. And I am so grateful that we got Gitta really breaking down energetic leadership for us on this episode. And the name of this podcast is the Clarity Mandate. And I believe that clarity stops being optional at a certain point in everyone's life. That the collision between you describe talking about modern life design and the old leadership habit, this would definitely force every leader to choose which side they are on. And what do you understand about leadership clarity? What actually it is, what it demands of a person, and what makes it possible that you could not have learned by doing if you didn't really get involved in doing what you did?
I think it's such a beautiful title of this podcast, Clarity Mandate, because clarity is really when it comes together within you, it sort of falls into place. You become calm inside, and you at the same time calm but also strong. And it will be quite clear to you. It's like your stepping stones will come as easy as you know. Previously, you might have felt that you had to struggle a lot. When you get clarity, you also get that mandate, you could say, and the stepping stones will be there. And you will make decision in a way that sometimes, wow, I'm really surprised. I did this and I did that. Of course, I know life also happens, but energetic leadership is something that you have to practice. You have to look after yourself. But AI might help us to release some time so we can get time to look after ourselves, so that we can use our clarity mandate to connect our dots and use our stepping stones.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I just want to thank you. We have been talking to Gitta Magdalena, corporate veteran turned leadership pioneer, author of Energetic Leadership. And for me, one of the clearest voices when it comes to the question of how AI can accelerate leadership, how you can listen to yourself, talking about building leadership capacity using both data and also intuition, and how we can develop it. And I think that Gitta left the corporate world and the familiar and maybe comfortable environment to go out there and build something really great. You build a framework that you don't just describe it, but leaders can navigate it to improve their productivity. And to every leader that is listening out there in our audience, and you have felt the collision between who you are and how your organization has taught you to lead, the mandate is clear. The frameworks exist. You can't struggle no more when there are frameworks out there. So you need to go out there and look for the right framework that will help you to grow, whether you're looking at your intuition, whether you're looking at how to merge these. And I want everyone listening out there, you want to find Gitta's book on energeticleadership.eu. You want to look at energetic leadership on Amazon. And I am Dr. Vivian Atud, and this has been the Clarity Mandate.